And good afternoon, everybody. Jim Miller and David Kaplan coming to you as we are taking a look at some Derby prep races, Cap. And just kind of looking at Derby preps, I'm going to start by kind of talking, I guess, a little bit about what we saw last week, I guess, Cap. Because last week, my friend, it was chaos. It was absolute chaos. And
it was. But I think you and I actually handicapped fairly intelligently last week.
Yeah, and you're right, and we did. And the only horse we really missed, and we're talking about the Rebel Stakes last week, Cap, the only horse we really missed was on Newgrange, and Newgrange was the heavy favorite. That was the Bob Baffert horse in the Rebel Stakes. But I'm telling you, Cap, I looked at that race last week. I might have had to go all the way to the end to get to the winner of that race, because I don't know if I could have gotten to the winner of that race. That was a horse by the name of Un Oho, Cap. Could you have found this horse at any point?
Like, I was on Ethereal Road. I liked Barber Road.
You did?
Those were some of my horses I wanted to mix in. Un Oho, no shot that I had that horse. That was a count out for me, and it paid $152.80 to win. Can you imagine? A $2 exacta paid $14.16.40.
Right. Here's the weird thing, too. Originally, when we were looking at some Spring Stakes Showdown races, this was a race under consideration. We ended up going with a couple of other races last week for the Spring Stakes Showdown. If this were in it, this could have ended the contest, only for the fact that you're talking $20 win place wagers. If people had this, I mean, $20 to win on Uno is over $1,000. I mean, it's $1,500. It's incredible. That's a $2 return, Cap, $152.80. Now, we talked last week. We didn't think the Rebel was that strong of a race. I think the results kind of show that. I don't know if anybody's going to come out of this race and make a big splash in the Derby. What do you think? Do you think any of these horses, Unoho, Ethereal Road, Barber Road, or maybe even you're not going to see Newgrange in the Derby, but maybe down the line for the 3-year-old preps, any of these horses can at least be a little bit of a player at all?
I really liked Newgrange, but Bob Baffert with the suspension, with no points, we won't know until we see that horse, perhaps Preakness, Belmont, Breeders, something. I thought it was a really good horse. Things didn't work out. I mean, Uno Oho, I do not see making a run in the Derby. I just don't.
Yeah, and I'm with you. And like you said, you talked about Ethereal Road. You talked about Barber Road. We didn't make any money last year for our wagers, but here, if you look over the right for Cap's wagers, look at the exactas there. It was a $10 exacta, 2 with 8, 9, 10. 2 of those horses you had underneath Newgrange were the horses that ran second and third, Cap. They both paid really well. So this was something where I think your handicapping was actually spot on. Just the one horse didn't run the way it was supposed to. Another horse ran exceptionally well, but it wasn't something to be expected by any means. That's the reason the horse paid 75 to 1, my friend.
Unbelievable. I'm watching the race and I'm like, who's leading? Hang on a minute. Who is that? And then I watch it finish and I'm just waiting for the tote board to come back, knowing it's going to be a monster.
Yeah.
And I see it and I'm thinking, idiot. How did you miss on a 75 to 1 shot? It happens.
Yeah, like I said, it would have been the last horse I had gotten to. And sometimes you handicap everything right. And even you look back, and sometimes horses just run great races.
So, you know, I'm big on looking at workout times.
Yes.
And you've got to be, after watching workout times for a few years now, you'll see, wow, bullet workout. Oh, that one wasn't very good going in the race. And you realize it was just breeze him, just get out, blow it out a little bit, and let's go. So I'm sitting right here where I'm doing this show, and I'm watching TVG. My son is sitting here, and I said, God, I really like this 80 to 1 shot. I think it was at Aqueduct.
Yeah.
80 to 1. I'm like, you know what? Just for the hell of it, I'm going to grab my Club Hawthorne app, and I go $2 across the board, $2. And I played $2, the 80 to 1 shot on top with all. Wouldn't you know, the 80 to 1 shot wins it.
No way.
Wins by 7. I mean, gone in the stretch. I'm like, I called my friend Eddie Olczyk. I go,
Yes.
Edson, I texted you to play that 80-1 shot, which he didn't. He's like, how did it do? I'm like, it won. He's like, how much did you have on it? I said, $2. He goes, hang on a second. Kap, you like the horse enough to text me. You like the horse enough to put something down on it. Why would you not at least have thrown $20 across the board? And the exacta, the $2 exacta paid $800.
Well, there you go. So it still returned okay. It returned really good, really okay. So, hey, I cheer for a $2 wager the same way I would cheer for a $20 wager or a $200 wager.
Never complain over a cash ticket.
Right, right. No, I agree with you in that spot for sure. All right, now Spring Stakes Showdown last week, Kap. It was the last week to sign up. 1,138 people, I believe, in the contest. We had 2 races last week. We're 3 races into the mix. Here's the thing that's crazy, Kap. You and I have both done really well on the Spring Stakes Showdown. And you look at it right there. We both had Green Light Go. We both had Latrushka. They both won, Kap. Here's the craziness. In Latrushka's race, the horse that ran second was a super long shot. And because of that, the place price paid more than the win in place price. But still, we're doing okay. We're both ahead of the game for the contest here. You see how much we have for the contest. You see our positions. A horse like Doing a Ho-Ho completely changes it. But honestly, you have 17 races to go in this contest, Kap. And because of that, it only takes 1 or 2 prices, and it really kind of opens things up a little bit. But looking at our stuff last week, we were right on point for the Spring Stakes Showdown.
We were right on point. We hit both the races, and you have a $26 lead over me.
It's not much.
So we're hanging in there, kid. Still alive.
And here this week is a little different because the 3 main Derby preps that we're going to talk about today are all Spring Stakes Showdown races. The only one that isn't the first race there for the Spring Stakes Showdown. And we have multiple Derby preps this week. There's 2 Derby preps overseas. The John Battaglia Memorial is a 10-point race, Kap. And then you have the Gotham, the San Felipe, and the Fountain of Youth. Those are all 50-point races. The winner of those races will be in the gate for the Kentucky Derby. So it is going to be interesting. But, Kap, we're going to look over to Turfway Park first. All right.
All right, wait, I want to ask you a quick question.
Yeah.
So I had somebody call the radio show and ask me, why would an owner, knowing that if they had a good horse, continue to allow Bob Baffert to train said horse, knowing he can't get any points to get into the Derby? But as I tried to do some homework on this, if you were with Baffert when the penalties were enforced, even if you leave, you're not eligible. Is that right?
Right. Those horses aren't eligible. So it's one of those things that it doesn't matter. That change had to have happened before. And here's the other thing. Okay, yes, it's the Kentucky Derby. Yes, it is the greatest race, the most important race, the most watched race in racing. There's so many other races, though, Kap. Owners in the end, bills to pay. You want to make money. You want to help your breeding stock for the horse. Look at last week. The Rebel at Oaklawn was a $1 million race. The Derby's 2. I mean, you're going to have so many options down the line where, yes, you missed that one race, but there's so many other options. There's people, they believe in Bob Baffert. They may have been clients for a long time. They may believe him, regardless of anything that's happened along the lines for any reports, anything. So because of that, you follow the money, you follow where you feel your horse can make money best. And I think that's the reason they're going that route.
And they're loyal.
Yep, exactly.
All right.
10-point race. Now we're going to rattle through them a little bit because we have 4 of them to cover here. But here's the field for the John Battaglia Memorial. 10 points to the winner only. But still, you have to look at this race a little bit because you may see some horses popping back either at Turfway later on in the spiral or heading to Keeneland, possibly for the Bluegrass. There's so many different options. It's a 12-horse field here, Kap. And I looked at your top pick in this race, my friend. Your top pick was a huge price, 15-1 with On Thin Ice. Tell me what you like with On Thin Ice.
Well, Mark Casse is one of my favorite trainers. I think Mark Casse does a really good job preparing his horses. I don't know a lot about his jockey, but this 3-year-old, the workout times all seem to be right on point where I like to see them as he gets into this race. I don't think the field is like, oh my goodness. Tiz the Bomb is a very, very good horse. I'll give you. Tiz the Bomb is an excellent horse. I just really like the shape On Thin Ice is in heading into this race, combined with the trainer, combined with the workout times. I'm taking a shot.
And here's the thing about it. All right, Cap, our very first show, you talked about a horse by the name of Tawny Port. And you liked the horse. And I believe it was going into the Risen Star at the Fairgrounds. On Thin Ice finished second, beating only a neck behind Tawny Port in that last out. This is a horse that I think could be a little bit of a factor as well. Should be closing late in the lane. And this is a horse that's run on the synthetic and run really well. It's a synthetic surface at Turfway Park. That's the key. You have to look at that. And because of that, I like your selection here. I'm kind of on the same page for you when it comes to the selection and how the race is going to unfold. I think there's a lot of pace in this race. And because of that, I think there's going to be a closer in here. I went to the aptly named, especially with baseball right now going on, horse right next to that, the 4, Stolen Base. Stolen Base is a horse that should be sitting back early on, should be flying late in the lane. The one thing about the synthetic surface with the poly track, horses that come from turf to the poly seem to take to it okay and seem to close late. But Cap, both of our horses, very similar running styles in here. But man, look at the price on your horse. Your horse 15-1. I'm 7-2 in here. Maybe we put a little bit of an exacta together in here.
The other thing is your horse, I believe, is out of Bodemeister.
Yep. Yeah.
So that was a horse I always liked. That was a Baffert horse. I was always a big Bodemeister fan. So I'm a baseball guy. Stolen Base is a horse I did look at. Absolutely. I also looked at a horse called Legendary Lore. That's with Rafael Bejarano up. Also 15-1. Little different in terms of running style. But I ended up in the end just deciding I'm going to take a shot with the horse I really like in On Thin Ice.
And I think you have a big shot there. And I agree with you. I think the horse will come flying late. It comes down to the trip. We've seen horses traditionally at Turfway Park actually, Cap, right back early on and come flying at him late in the lane. I think this is a horse that could be in the mix. I like your selection in that spot quite a bit. All right, now we're going to the 50-point races here, Cap. We're going to go up north first. We're going to go to Aqueduct. This is the Gotham Stakes. Now, the Gotham is a grade 3. It's an interesting, Cap, for this reason. The Gotham is a one-turn mile, Cap. So when you get to the Derby, you're looking at 2 turns. A lot of these Derby preps are 2-turn races as well. But you only get a 1-turn mile here for the Gotham. So it's something where we really kind of have to take a look at how you feel things are going to unfold. But man, I think, Cap, you're on another big price in here, aren't you?
I am. Life is great. Now, what concerns me about this horse, ran his last 3 times going 7 furlongs. He had a victory. He had a second and a third. He ran well. The one concern I have is it's a little bit longer of a race. It's a mile race. I want to see how this horse handles the distance. That's why I think I'm getting increased odds.
Yeah.
Get him to 15-1.
And I'm a little surprised at those odds actually too, Cap. And it's interesting. You look, a lot of these horses have run at Aqueduct. A lot of these horses have run well over the racetrack too. And that's something that you kind of have to take into regards. And I think there's a lot of pace in this race. So I'm curious to see. Life is great on the stretch and distance. This is a horse that might settle back just a little bit off the pace. And that might be beneficial because I expect there to be 3, 4, maybe 5 horses heading for the front end. So you talked about Mark Casse last race, Cap. I'm talking about Mark Casse this race because I like the 2 horse. That's a Glider. Glider's a horse that comes from Tampa Bay Downs. This is a horse that you get Antonio Gallardo aboard. Now, Gallardo's a guy that could probably ride 4 or 5 favorites every day at Tampa. He thinks this is his Derby horse. He thinks this is the horse that's going to give him the biggest shot to possibly maybe come out of this race, run well, head to the Wood Memorial and run well. So I think Glider's a horse that could settle back early on and actually come running at him lane to lane. The interesting thing, though, all these prep races, again, you cannot run with Lasix. You have to come off with Lasix if you want to get points for the Derby. If you want to run in the Derby, you can't run on Lasix. So that's going to be the curious thing for me because Glider has raced on Lasix in those last 2 starts. So you come off Lasix, that is your big question mark, but you're getting 8-1. So Cap, again, good prices in here for both of us. And we'll tease it a little bit because this is a race that's going to lead to your wagers down the line. But man, you could take a commanding lead in the wagering department. Just looking even at your top pick before we get into the other selections here for the Gotham.
Yeah, Life is Great, as I said, is a horse I decided to take a shot. I looked at Morello at 3-1, Rockefeller at 7-2. But when I add in, I like to take a shot with a bigger price. I just do.
Yep.
And I feel like this is a pretty sharp horse. I really feel like it has a chance. It's out of Tapiture. It's got really good breeding. The distance is the one concern I have.
Yeah, and distance is always a concern, but that's the biggest concern for all these horses, especially leading into the first Saturday in May, because none of them will have gone 1.25 miles at that point. But you're right. You ease your way for stretching out. So at least you're going from 7/8. You find out if the horse runs well at 1 mile, maybe the next race is the 1.16 or 1.125, and work your way up as these 3-year-olds develop. All right, now we're going to stay east, but we're going to go southeast for our next race. I think this is a pretty good race here. It's the Fountain of Youth at Gulfstream Park, Cap. You're getting a field of 14. We're only listing the 12 because there's 2 also eligibles in here, so we can't plan on those horses being in the mix. But Cap, last week you and I, we were on the same page, left and right. We were with each other for the Spring Stakes Showdown picks. We were with each other with Newgrange. This is the race where we kind of get back together here, and it's with the horse that I think is a decent price in Emmanuel, and I kind of like 9-2 in here.
Yeah, that's an interesting horse. I do agree with you at 9-2. Mo Donegal is probably the class of the race.
Yep.
But I also looked at a couple of long shots like Dean Delivers, Rattle and Roll. I just think in these prep races, not everyone's sure how we're going to handicap and how we're going to put odds on these horses. And you can find some real value. I mean, I don't know about $152 winner, but you're going to find some real value if you really do your homework.
Here's the thing, though, and you mentioned that. All right, Unoho last week in the Rebel Cap, the morning line on this horse was only 12-1. This horse was given zero consideration after that. Went from 12-1 morning line all the way up to 75. So anything can happen. It is something to look at. And later on, when we get back to our long shots, both of our long shot plays actually come out of this race. So we'll get to that in a minute. But I want to talk about Emmanuel as well, because this is a horse that I agree with you. Todd Pletcher, Cap, always has horses in the Derby. He usually has multiple horses in the Derby. And a horse like Emmanuel is an interesting horse because Pletcher has done this move before. He's had a horse that started out at Gulfstream Park. Then the horse has gone to Tampa and then come back over to Gulfstream Park to run. They're staying in Florida. Tampa's a little bit deeper track. It's something where you can leg up a horse. You can build up a little bit more stamina on that. And the thing about this race that's interesting too, go back a few weeks ago, Cap, to the Holy Bull. The Holy Bull was won by a horse named White Abario. White Abario made the top in that race and never looked back. Now you're getting some horses coming into this race out of that same exact race, but you don't have White Abario in there. So what happens? Somebody else has to take over the lead and be the one that inherits the front end. And I think it's going to be Emmanuel in this spot. I'm with you. I think Emmanuel makes the top. I think this is a horse that is going to take him all the way around on the front end. And I think this is a horse that's going to be very tough. So I'm with you. I like the chances of Emmanuel in this spot.
This is also a horse that has a lot of physical size. Like it's a very, very overpowering horse. Todd Pletcher, who's obviously a Hall of Famer, he said that if this horse runs well here, Florida Derby, here we come.
Yeah.
And this horse, I think, has a real chance to win this race.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the horse has a real chance as well. Now, when you're looking underneath in this race, this is something that's a little bit interesting too, because I want to jump to our long shots right here, Cap, because we picked one sleeper and we picked one long shot. Now, this is where our long shots came for this race. And both long shots are different horses, but they're in the same race, Cap. You mentioned it a little bit earlier with the 5, Dean Delivers, 15-1 in the morning line. Cap, this horse has never been worse than second in its career in 4 starts, and you're going to get a great price in here.
Yeah, the question on this horse is it hasn't run a lot,
Right.
and so it's had some time off. We'll see how this horse ends up. I looked at it hard. I really did. It's a horse that I think, having been down for a bit, I
Right.
question how sharp it's going to be going into this race, but it is a quality horse. And so I took it 15-1, all in.
15-1, yeah, man. Why not? And here's the thing, and like you mentioned at Aqueduct, you get the horses that are stretching out in distance. You find out if they can stretch out in distance. This is a horse that's kind of in the same spot, trying to stretch out. This is a horse that went 5/8, went 3/4 for a couple races, went 7/8. Now they're going a mile and a 16th, but the mile and a 16th at Gulfstream Park, Cap, is a short stretch race, which means they're ending at the 16th pole. They're not going the full length of the stretch. So sometimes it makes it a little bit harder to make up some ground. So that's one thing to take into regard as well. Now, for me, my long shot here is going to be the 10. That's Giant Game. This is a horse that's bred to run all day, sired by Giants Causeway. This was a $500,000 purchase. The horse has gone the distance. And this is a horse that did not run well at all in that last race in the Holy Bull. But the races prior were both pretty good efforts. So a horse like Giant Game, I think, could be a factor to settle back early on, try to pick off some horses late. But for both of our long shot plays, I think coming out of the same race, I think this is where you can find a long shot because this is a race that is fairly wide open. I mean, we look, Emmanuel is the horse we both have on top. That horse is 9-2, but I could see both those long shots possibly getting into the mix, Cap.
Yeah, Giant Game is a Kentucky bred with Dale Romans as your trainer. You can't go wrong. And again, getting back to, you look at some of these horses. Mo Donegal's a very, very good horse. Very good. Outstanding combo of Ortiz and Pletcher. But I like to get some value for my money. And with Emmanuel, with Giant Game, with Dean Delivers, you're getting value.
You are getting value for sure. All right, Cap, now we go to the West Coast, and this could be an interesting race for our final prep of the weekend. It's the San Felipe. It comes at Santa Anita. Here's the thing, though, about this race. Santa Anita, they're having rain out west. They canceled their Friday card already and moved it to Monday. So they know they're going to get inundated with rain. That track does not handle rain well. The question is, how quickly is the track going to dry out? What condition is it going to be? Because really on the West Coast in California, you don't run a whole lot on slop. Everything is pretty much a fast track. Now, this is a race that did not come up with a big field. I don't think it came up very strong by any means either. But again, like we talked about last week, when Bob Baffert has a horse in a race, Cap, you have to keep an eye on it for two reasons. One, they got to be running for the money because they're not getting those Derby points. And two, it could take Derby points away from some others. But he has two horses in here. He's got the 3, he's got the 5. The 5 is Doppelganger, and Doppelganger is the horse that I know both of us like in the spot.
Yeah, Doppelganger is a great horse, but it is also a sprinter.
Yep.
It does not have unbelievable stamina, and you've got a mile and a 16th. How is this horse going to handle, along with Forbidden Kingdom, Beautiful Art? How are these horses going to handle the increased distance? But I just think Doppelganger is a really awesome horse.
I think this is a horse that's going to be pretty good as well, too. And I think you're going to get 9-5 in here, Cap. And the reason I say that is because this horse has faced Forbidden Kingdom before, and Forbidden Kingdom got the better there of Doppelganger. So that was a race back on January the 29th. That was the San Vicente. Doppelganger was a 4-5 favorite in that race. Forbidden Kingdom was sent off at 7-2, but made the top and never looked back. But here's the thing. That was a 5-horse field. This is a 7-horse field. There's the potential for a little bit more pace in here. I tended to wonder, Cap, if the 3-horse in this race, the other Baffert entry, just coming in off a maiden score, is in there more or less just to keep the pace honest. Do you think that's a possibility? It's the same owners as well, too. I think there's a potential of that.
Absolutely. We need to make sure we have one of our own who can help us blaze a path to victory. You're talking about, I think it's pronounced Armagnac.
Armagnac. Yep, Armagnac.
Yeah, with John Velasquez up. So you got a star-studded field of jockeys and trainers here. Forbidden Kingdom's a really, really good horse. And, you know, there's something about Cabo Spirit, maybe because I love Cabo, that intrigued me.
I don't blame you there, my friend. Oh, my dogs are wanting to get in there out just outside my door. That's very nice of them. When you got 3 puppies, it's always nice.
Yeah, I
All
got
right.
3 as well.
Yeah, you have yours as well. So, Cap, sleeper wise, we're going back to the Battaglia Memorial for you for your sleeper here. And for the sleepers, yours is going to come with legendary lore, a horse that we talked about a little bit earlier in the show. This is a pretty good sleeper, Cap, 15-1 on a horse that I think might be able to be a little bit of a factor.
Yep, Rafael Bejarano up, a horse that I think could be a real factor in the stretch. Watched a little tape on Legendary Lore. It's a really beautiful horse. And again, if I'm going to take a shot on a sleeper, I'm going to take a shot with some odds.
Yeah. And you're going to get the odds there. It's a horse that likes the track, a horse that's run over the track, horse that should be a very solid threat. My sleeper is going to come in the Gotham. That's Bold Journey, 6-1 in the morning line. Again, I'm looking for horses that are going to rate back a little bit early on and try to close up some ground late. This horse went the mile in that last out, was able to settle back a little before getting into the mix there, and battled late into the lane before giving way inside the final 16th. I think you're going to get a decent price. So for me, Bold Journey, a horse that I'm going to have in the mix in there. Now, Cap, bankroll-wise, we did not do that great last week, but you can't win every week. We were close. Now, for you, your bankroll plays, we went over to Gulfstream Park, went to the Fountain of Youth in here. So I want to show how you're going to play your $100 in this spot because, man, you're hoping Emmanuel runs big in here. And if Emmanuel runs big, you're going to be in great shape.
Yeah, if Emmanuel can run well for me, I got a chance to make some cash. I like that horse, as I said to you earlier. And then I'm taking a shot, see what I can do with that exacta box and see if we can find a way to cash a few tickets.
And you look at it, all right, Dean delivers 15-1. I'm looking at Emmanuel. This is a horse that's at 9-2. You had Rattle and Roll in there, Cap. Rattle
Also
and Roll
15-1
is a huge price as well. You get any of these horses in the box, you get 2 of them in there, you're going to do really well for everybody. Now, for me, I went to New York. I went to the Gotham, and it was only because I waited until the odds came out. The odds just came out this morning. I was kind of shocked to see 8-1 on Glider. I thought Glider was going to be a little bit shorter price because it is Mark Cassie. You have Gallardo coming to ride the horse, but he's 8-1. So because of that, I put this horse in the mix. I put win and place money on this horse. I'm going to have to make it 35, 30. It's whatever. You can keep your $10 for that. So I was off a little bit from my betting of 100. $5 exacta box, 2, 5, 8 in that spot. But I think we can both make a little bit of money in there. Now, Cap, Spring Stake Showdown time. Now, again, 3 races for the Spring Stake Showdown. There are 3 of these Derby preps. And because of that, you kind of have to take a look at the potential of making a little bit of money. So here's how things will look for us in the Spring Stake Showdown. And you see, we're very alike in the Fountain of Youth with Emmanuel. We're very alike in the San Felipe with Doppelganger. So for you and I separating ourselves, it's going to come down to the Gotham, my friend. I'm worried. If you hit here, you're gonna blow way ahead of me because this is a horse and life is great at 15-1. You're going to get tremendous odds.
Yeah, if I can find a way to be watching that race, I'm going to be out of town on vacation. I'm going to have my iPad up, my Club Hawthorne app open, which everyone needs to download. Go and get the Club Hawthorne app. Go to hawthorneracecourse.com. We are getting into awesome racing, PointsBet Sportsbook, all of your needs taken care of by the fine folks at Hawthorne. If I happen to see my horse Life is Great front end and finishing in front, oh man, you're going to be getting a stream of text.
I'll begin to take that text probably on repeat for a while. Hey, I give you credit. The fact that you're going to be on vacation and you're still going to be watching, that's a beautiful thing. What that means though, Cap, is come next week, my friend, you're going to be somewhere really warm, right?
I will. I'll be in Costa Rica, but we're still going to do the show.
That's
Poolside, my friend.
That would be awesome. Hey, well, I'm all for remote locations for us for any of these shows. So I'm with you, Cap. I think that would be fantastic. You have yourself a great trip, Cap. You have yourself a great weekend. I hope you run second to my horse in that race in the Gotham, and we can win the other 2. How's that sound?
Sounds like I would like to change the result.
Which is just fine. But, Cap, Have yourself a great weekend. We'll do this again next week. Sound good?
We'll talk to you next Thursday. I look forward to it. Jimmy!
You got it, my friend. Good luck, everybody, this week. Don't forget to get your Spring Stakes Showdown selections in. Check out the PointsBet Sportsbook. Cap's going to be nice and tan next week, right, Cap? You're going to have that tan going?
Might even have a cocktail in my hand with a little umbrella.
Beautiful. We can do that. Good luck, everybody. See you again next week.
Take that.